G'day everyone, Leigh here from Martinuzzi Property Group with another weekly real estate market update. And this week I want to talk about whether or not we've seen the peak of the property market here in Australia. Now this will change depending on what market and what area of Australia you may be looking in or living in. So Tim Lawless from CoreLogic defines the peak of a market as a market that has seen consecutive months of negative growth. Now that hasn't occurred yet, which therefore means we haven't actually seen the peak of the market. Now, the peak of the market is the pinnacle point before we start to see a declining market. Now, in that article that was launched by CoreLogic, they actually share some historic charts of what's happened when you've seen a peak of a market and a downturn, and the timeframes it takes for that down to hit the bottom, and then the recovery period as well. Now, I put those charts in this week's blog post, so check out the link below. I'll stick it here. So you can have a read of that blog post as well. So we haven't seen the peak of the market yet across Australia. However, we've seen the peak growth rates in many places across Australia having been reached and passed. So you look at the peak of most markets in Australia, that happened last year, 2021, in March. Now, if you look at the likes of Sydney and Melbourne, for example, they had some really significant growth periods in March, but in the last month, they've actually seen a decline. So I think December recorded a negative 0.1% decline in the Melbourne market, and in Sydney it was just 0.3. Now that's coming from peaks of 2.5% and above back in March. Now the exceptional markets that are still performing very well and are actually still reaching record growth rates are the likes of Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, and even Adelaide. So back in March, Brisbane saw a 2.6% peak growth rate, and March 2021 for Adelaide, they saw a 1.5% peak growth rate. However, in the last month, they saw a 2.9 peak and a 2.6 peak respectively. So they're still seeing some significant growth. Now, the reasons for this, well, there's a couple of favorable reasons why we're still seeing that growth here in southeast Queensland. And one of those reasons is the demographic shift. We're seeing a lot of migration coming up from those interstate markets and moving to here, the Sunshine Coast, Brisbane, Gold Coast, etc. So that's causing a lot of extra demand. Another reason is a tightening market. There's a lot less properties available for sale at the moment. So that tightening market and increased buyer demand naturally helps push up those prices. So there's a lot of favorable conditions. One other point is the affordability. So whilst many people locally here think affordability has worsened and gotten out of reach for many, compared to some of those other places like Sydney and Melbourne, affordability is next level there. So comparatively, the Sunshine Coast, for example, still represents some level of good affordability or value for those buyers. So what's going to happen over the next 6 months is to yet be determined, but it may start tapering off in those southern markets, and that may then catch up here in southeast Queensland soon. So have a look at those historic charts from the peak to the trough and then back up to recovery. Generally, it's a fairly consistent curve, and that could be a few months to a longer period of 12 or 24 months before you see the bottom of the market reached. So I'm not sure what's going to happen, but guys, that is the weekly market update at the moment. So interesting stuff about the peak of the market. Check it out at my blog below. And guys, if you're looking for a fantastic family home, we've just listed a cracker here in Palmwoods, number 14 Nicklin Road. It is online on realestate.com, so check that one out as well. Australia Day next week. I believe it's on a Wednesday. Hope you have a cracking day. Get a few snags out, have a couple of beers, and enjoy the time with friends and family. Until we speak again, have a great day. MPG with you all the way.